Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me, the MISC STARLITE. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, welcome back to another ship review, and thank you to Seraph Omega and WinRAR42 for joining me on today's review of the brand new MISC STARLITE. Now, this is a refueling ship, and it's a small one with a small price tag, and it does attached to a gameplay loop now because there's missions out there where you get to go and refuel AI, targets instead of just players. I also made a tutorial video on the channel showing how to use this thing directly, but I'll go over some of its features here in the review as well. Taking a look, this thing is only $55 war bond, which is phenomenal, and $60 store credit. I mean, honestly, if you're asking me, I thought this thing was going to be double, if not triple the price, because of the fact that it is attached to a specific gameplay loop that has missions and that can help players and do all sorts of things, just like the Prospector or the Vulture. It's at a fantastic price point, such a good price point, and it has a 5-minute and 49-second claim time with an expedited claim time of 1 minute and 27 seconds, which is great too, because you're just back right out there if you need to be, if your ship gets lost or destroyed. And then the pilot does have some weapons on here, which is truly surprising. That'd be like seeing a tanker run down the road with a bunch of machine guns on it. I'd be a little nervous about that, but it does have some guns on here with a total stock burst damage per second of 1,312 due to the 4 size 2 CF227 Badgers that are on the ship, which again, that's awesome. You have a little bit of damage output, but honestly, you're not going to have the speed or maneuverability to really use that in a situation where you need to, other than some maybe minor AI PvE encounters, right? And then you also have 2 size 1 Spark 1 cross-section missiles. At this point, MISC is taking some design notes from Drake because they're like, wait a minute, Drake put missiles on their golems. Now we're going to be putting missiles on our little ships as well. And here we are with the STARLITE blasting away, right? Now, if you're looking at the defensive nature, it does have a total of 4,320 bubble shield, which isn't really that great. Not in any sort of industrial sense, because if you're out there in very dangerous areas refueling ships, you would expect it to have a little bit more shield HP. And same goes for the ship armor, sitting at 4,114. Now, that's also not good because it's not about the ship health pool anymore. While the ship health pool is important to the fact that that's when you blow up, you don't honestly survive that long if your ship armor is very lackluster, because once the ship armor is gone, an enemy ship can just component kill you within mere seconds after damaging your components, and that's something you have to keep an eye on instead of that 68,250 ship HP, because if you're just floating adrift in space with your components on fire, it ain't going to really matter if you explode or not, because you're still in a very, very bad situation from there. So not so hot on the ship armor or the shield, but the ship HP, to prevent that explosion is a pretty good amount. So I do like that. Taking a look, it does have a 150 SCM top speed with a 340 forward boost, a 160 backwards boost, and a top nav speed of 970. She's slow. She's a small craft with small engines. She's slow. She's in that industrial field. She's carrying a lot of weight with those fuel tanks. Even if they're empty, the tanks aren't light by any means. And so she's slow. She's not going to get anywhere fast. Now, you do have a pitch yaw roll of 35-35-80 with a boosted 42-42-96. Definitely not terrible by any means. Again, it's not meant to go out there and fight. It's not a fighter. It's not supposed to be agile. It's not supposed to do anything like that. But just the fact that it can defend itself and it does have okay maneuverability and dreadful speed, at least you got something going for you. Now, you do have 48 flares and 5 decoys, which is typical across the market, and also 110 SCU of hydrogen fuel and 3.3 SCU of quantum fuel, which is just fantastic. What a good amount of quantum fuel. I mean, you'd expect it to, just because of the fact that you're supposed to be jumping around the verse, refueling other players and not having to about really refuel yourself, right? And then the stock tanks that come on this thing are both 20 SCU each. So a total of 40 SCU in those stock tanks. So you would carry 20 SCU of hydrogen and 20 SCU of quantum fuel in those tanks to go out there and do those missions. Now, with this price tag and the size of this ship, I have to tell you, this is like a starter refuel ship. That's pretty much what it is. It's supposed to get you into the gameplay element, to start the contracts from the beginning and only work your way up a little bit and kind of just work those missions. Because once you get into the bigger missions, you will need something that carries a lot more fuel, something like the Starfarer, because this ship just won't do it. Especially if you have to make multiple trips just to go back and forth and refuel an AI, that's definitely not something you want to do, right? So with that, I would just suggest upgrading to a Starfarer if you want to continue all the way through the rep chain on refueling. But if you're good with just kind of sticking around, the first few rep areas, then you could definitely do that here with the Starlight. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this thing in the first person. First and foremost, on the exterior of this ship, it does take a lot of elements from things like the Star Lancer and other ships out there in the MISC lineup, and it looks fantastic. It's such a cool looking ship. And to remove these tanks, of course, you got to unlock your ports to the cockpit with right Alt-K. And then you would come back here, you'd open up this little contraption here like this. Actually, let me just put it on screen here. I'll show you really quick. I had my team do that. I was like, hey, let's remove these. Let's see how easy it is. And if it's really easy, awesome. That's great to hear. Now, one thing we noticed is when we pulled the tank off of the ship and then you let the tank go, it was almost like gravity didn't exist for this thing. This tank started flying at Mach, 5 towards space, and we were both like, what the heck, what do we do? So we had to grab it really quick so it didn't float away forever. And that was kind of fun. But as you can see, it is pretty easy to pull the tanks off the ship as well as putting them back on the ship. And then the interior area of where those tanks sit, pretty cool. There's some pretty neat little design elements there, like the moving pistons and everything on the engines. I think that just looks really cool. So now we'll go ahead and hop into the cockpit. To do so, there's only one entry on this ship. That's really too bad. I don't really like when there's only one entry on a ship, but it's a small ship. What would you expect? And here it is right here at the front where there's an elevator. And I always kind of want to dock ships now on the fact that it only has one entrance, especially a ship of this nature. And we don't have any sort of escape pods. So that's not good. With this MISC design, I'm noticing something new, and that's how the button controls are. They're no longer a part of the main keypad. They're now on the side and they work flawlessly, allowing you to turn on and off your lighting, which is just fantastic. And then you have a bunch of component access all around. You can go ahead and open these doors up using the blue little buttons sitting all around. Go ahead and close that up, close that one up. This one says you can just pull the fuses here. You do have a nice little engineering terminal with some nice little piping areas here. You have a weapons rack for 2 rifles and 3 multi-tools or handguns, which is pretty cool. You do have a suit locker right across. This thing just has a phenomenal interior, like phenomenal. And then when you walk into this room right here, this is your living area, which it just looks fantastic. You have a nice little fridge here, which you can open up and store some things. And then you can close that right back up. And you got this right here. You open this and it opens up a nice little area with some more components. It looks really nice. Go ahead and close that right on up. A little area to make some food if you wanted to, including a bed, which is also an escape pod, which if you look outside of the ship, when this thing escapes, it's going to be flying right out the door, right out the side to the right here. You're going to be going that way and it's going to be scary as all heck. And you have a nice little window that views right into the fuel pod there. Or if the fuel pods aren't there, it'll view a nice little area behind the ship and your storage right above. You open that up and you have a total of 750,000 micro SCU, which is fantastic. Now, if we open this door up, you have a bathroom with a nice little sink, beautiful mirror that has some optics issues, and then a toilet and a shower. I'm talking about squeezing everything possible into these MISC ships, and it just is fantastic. I love to see it. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the cockpit really quick, and I'll show you just really quick. Fire extinguisher. Ooh, yeah. That's a fire extinguisher. But I will show you really quick just how to operate this ship, even though I do have a tutorial video, and I recommend just watching that because it's like 4 or 5 minutes long, and that'll walk you through it 100% of the way, even showing you. But once you're in the cockpit, you do have that mail slot view like you normally would in a MISC ship. And then when you're ready to refuel, you just hit M on the keyboard, which M is in Mary, would open up the fuel pod on the side, which drops out the boom. And then you deploy this screen here. And once this screen is deployed, you would go ahead and operate everything from here to refuel whatever ships you're looking to refuel. But yes, you would operate everything here. You would choose your pricing and everything. You'd set pricing. So I'd like set auto. That kind of just sets you to the market price, or you can choose whatever prices you want. And you go out there and have a great time refueling. Honestly, this ship is just fantastic. All around, it's got great space on the inside. It does a great job at what it's supposed to be doing, which is refueling at that more beginner tier. It's a 95 out of 100 for me. This thing just looks fantastic. It feels fantastic. The interior looks great. I think your only real negatives on it is it only has one entrance, right? One entrance, one exit can be a real painstaking point in any starship that has an interior. And then also it does have a little bit of an issue with its shield and armor, but in the end, it's not a combat ship. So shield and armor, as long as you just stay away from getting shot at too much, I mean, obviously I would hope you would, just because you have two huge bombs strapped to you, then you'll be perfectly fine and there's really not anything to worry about. It's such a great ship at such a great price point. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here. And of course, I'll see you all in the next one.
Let me tell you something real quick. When you see me looking around in game, that's not a trick, that's beam eye tracking doing the work. Its newest version is now in beta and completely removes the need for open track, giving you seamless integration between the software and the game. It's easy to set up, runs clean, and you can use it with a webcam, iPhone, or Android device. And it's only $30. One program, less overhead, smoother tracking. Grab beam eye tracking through the link below to support the developer directly and stop running multiple apps when you want to feel more immersed in what you're doing.